Money Means Business with our guest, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, economic expert. Welcome, sir, with us.
Hello.
Well, you heard a lot, has been happening lately in Egypt, of course, and with tourism, and everybody's waiting for the gem to open, and a lot of work, and also on other aspects with the inauguration of other projects in Ismailia and different places. President Sisi gave a speech actually and put the stress on different issues, very important issues. He addressed Egypt's rapid population growth that is a problem that swallows any kind of development that takes place in any country, with the hard work that is happening and taking place in Egypt. It's a shame that all that will be lost to the crazy population increase, actually. So he addressed that, and he just talked about that having more than 2 children per family is a very big problem, because this aggravates the economic situation, and it swallows any kind of development that is taking place. So how do you see the problem of population growth in Egypt?
Well, in very simple terms, what is overpopulation? Overpopulation actually means that a country has too many people, that the country needs to provide a good standard of living, but due to the scarcity of resources, it is difficult to provide the good standard of living to people. Overpopulation happens actually when the growth rate, the rate of population is high. Meanwhile, as everybody knows, that with the modern advances in medical treatment and medicines, the people now live longer than before. So this increase, the natural increase of populations, come from 2 elements: from the rapid growth of birth, and the advances in medical treatment. As rightfully said by President al-Sisi, overpopulation is a very serious problem alongside terrorism. It is a serious problem. Why? Because the government needs to provide a good standard of living to people, while the resources of the countries are limited. For every year, Egypt increases by, according to the latest statements of Compass, the population increased by 2,330,000 citizens. And that's a huge number. It means
because 1 million now, it's even increasing, doubling and tripling.
A child is born every 18 seconds. Imagine, this is actually a very big problem. This happens because of many reasons, primarily because of the cultural and religious belief in rural areas, in the Upper Egypt and other rural villages. And if we don't control, if the country doesn't control the explosion of the growing, increasing number of birth, it will be a serious problem, because we need more education, we need more services to people, we need more infrastructure to cater for the increase of population. The number of, according to the census of 2017, the number of Egyptian people now is nearly reaching 100 million, and we are increasing by 2.5% a year. We need to cut down, the government needs to put plan to cut down the increase on the fertility rate.
Actually, the mind framework should be changing, because religion doesn't go against welfare and all that, but some people just do have, as you said, some old beliefs that cutting, like limiting having kids is a sin. So, you know, they keep, you know, they leave that despite the campaigns that are promoting for, well, just limiting that to take care of the kids better. So Egypt is promoting for birth control to slow the population growth, to help put a break to the birth rates, the high birth rates in Egypt. The government launched a family planning campaign called Two is Enough. So we had family campaigns before to limit the number of newborns, yet there was like in TVs and well, they have to reach actually more than that, but now this campaign Two is Enough. Would you tell us about this campaign?
Well, this campaign actually started in 2018,
yeah.
And it centers around educating and raising the awareness of women in rural areas that the welfare of the family is important, and it won't be achieved unless we limit the number of births and keeping the family limited to 2 kids only. 2 is enough because a family needs to provide good education for their kids. According to a recent statement by the Minister of Planning, she said that in order for the citizens to feel the outcome of the benefits of the economic reform plan, we need to keep the increase of population to 400,000 a year. Which is aimed or targeted to be achieved by year 2032. The fertility rate of the Egyptian woman stands now at 3.4 per woman. Mm-hmm. And that also is targeted to be cut down to 2.4 mm-hmm. in the future. Yeah. If we don't have a proper control on the birth rate, the population of Egypt would reach 151 million by year 2050. Mm-hmm. So this is important that the government, along with the NGOs, yeah. they in tandem join hands in promoting this initiative. And actually this initiative is active in the highly populated governorates in Egypt, like in Kenya, in Sohaj. These are highly populated areas, and the awareness or the culture background of the families need to be changed and make them feel that two children are enough for the family.
Definitely. Does that have anything to do with the projects taking place actually in the countryside of Egypt and the poor areas actually that were ignored before? President Sisi focused and indicated that the government is seeking to complete those projects of developing the Egyptian countryside within 3 years. Yeah. Definitely. What are the features of the Egyptian countryside development projects, and how would that reflect on the whole country?
In fact, the President al-Sisi pledged that the countryside will be developed in several ways, and in simple terms, this means that 1,500 villages will be developed. They will be provided with the sanitary projects, sanitation and clean water, and paving the roads in the access in these areas with asphalt. And we've seen very beautiful pictures recently. I've seen some villages were paved with beautiful colored basements, and I think this also will be reflected in other aspects of the healthcare, and paving the way, paving the roads will make the hospitals and the schools operate more efficiently.
Definitely. Well, we'll go on this, but first we should go to a short break, after which we'll be coming back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. And we're back again to My Name is Business with our guest, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, economic expert. And a lot has been happening lately. Bloomberg's report concerning the decline of the inflation for the second straight month, which is the expectations to the control bank will reduce the interest. The bank will reduce actually the interest rate, which is worrying to many people. But let's talk first about the decline the decline and decrease of the inflation rate.
Bloomberg has written a report saying that for the second month in a row, the inflation rate is slowing down. It's coming from 5.4% now to nearly 4.3%. And the core inflation, as estimated by the Central Bank of Egypt, is now 3.6%, which actually provides, it means that it excludes some commodities which has high volatility. The inflation rate, when it is down, it is a good sign, but it is not across the board a good sign, because in some instances it means that a move slowly towards recession. But in Egypt, yes, we have to be very careful that the inflation rate is kept within the limits set by the central bank, which has now changed to be 7% with a margin to above or below the threshold set by the central bank until the fourth quarter of year 2024. The interest rate the inflation rate is important because it is a guideline for the central bank to set the key interest rate changes, which is used as a benchmark for banks to determine the interest rate structure for assets and liability products. So it is expected, as mentioned by Reuters, by Bloomberg, that the Central Bank of Egypt now has a room or a leeway to decrease the interest rate at its coming meeting in March. This means that if the central bank decreases the interest rate, it is a way to push the economy and keep the operational levels at a reasonable level to avoid unemployment and boost businesses.
Definitely. Thinking of those who have fixed salaries, those who have a certain amount, like maybe widows or other people who have certain amount of money in the banks, and they don't really know how. They depend on that, on the interest rates. When it just went up, they just start putting their money with the high interest rate, which was really great for those who have their accounts in banks. But then news, and it started going down, and more going down more. This is a shock to the people who have no other businesses or who only depend on their own bank accounts that are there to just increase this way, because they cannot go on having a project or this is hard for them. Or those who have fixed income, or they have also depend on their own bank accounts, and the higher interest rate. Now, what are the alternatives for that? Because those people cannot go and invest in any project that can be duped somewhere, or they don't know anything about economy and business. So it's really hard for them to go. It's a risky matter. What are the alternatives to, let's say, not to compensate, but for those, maybe to compensate, and for those who depend on their limited bank account and sum of money in the banks?
Well, before going or delving into the details, let me tell you that there is a correlation between the inflation rate and the interest rate.
Yes.
Now, the real interest rate is positive. Yeah. In the past, it was negative. In other words, when the inflation rate is high, the interest rate is actually doesn't express the real value of money or investment.
Definitely.
Because in all cases we need to deduct the inflation rate from the interest rate, and the
Yes.
difference is the real interest rate.
Yes.
As we have explained earlier, the inflation rate now is at its lowest. It's 3.6%. So accordingly, what the depositor gets is a positive yield, unlike in the old back days when the interest rate were 18 and 20%. Okay, so the question is, where do I invest my money?
Yes.
I don't have experience to invest in this stock exchange. I have zero risk. My appetite to risk is zero.
Definitely.
I cannot put my money in any risky investment.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually there are several other alternatives. Okay, for example, mutual funds.
Okay.
Mutual funds are funds of different types, like money market fund and equity fund. Mutual funds is the safe place for those who cannot take any risk. But the issue is the citizen, an investor or a depositor needs to select the right fund and the right fund manager. The fund manager is a company which operates the fund on behalf of the different subscribers. So
Yes.
if we talk, for example, about the money market fund, the money market funds are funds which are investing in the debt instruments like the treasury bills and short-term government securities. These are very suitable and safe, and normally they provide slightly higher yield than
Yes.
investment
In the bank, even
in the
in
banking,
interest rate,
the traditional banking deposits. They also, we have also equity funds. Equity funds, the funds invest in the stock exchange and in shares traded in the stock exchange. And actually, this is another good alternative for those who want to try to invest in the stock market, but they don't have sufficient, huge funds to
Yes.
go and inject and
Yes.
make a huge portfolio to feel the yield, but they can share very limited risk with the fund, and it is another good alternative. Also, a depositor would opt to try investing in treasury bills. Treasury bills, generally, they are government debt instruments. In the short term, they are labeled as short term. They have maturity less than 1 year. And for example, if I want to apply on investment in treasury bills, I go to the bank which I deal with every Sunday and every Thursday. The tenders are open with a minimum of £25,000, and the average yield for treasury bill now ranges between 12 to 13%,
which is really good.
according to the recent details published by the Central Bank of Egypt. When I invest in treasury bill, I get the yield up front. So
Okay.
if I'm applying to invest, for example, £10,000, and I apply. I apply through the bank. I apply, and I pay only the amount less the interest, less than the yield itself.
Okay.
And at the maturity of the treasury bill, I get the full amount credited to my account. So probably these are the two or three best alternatives. Another alternative, maybe I haven't explained, is the investment, the deposits offered by the post offices. They provide good yield, but they have a maximum for individuals. I think it's like 3 million pounds.
Which is not bad. Okay.
Which is not bad
Not
for
everybody
households.
has that, so,
Yeah. But they are very secure, safe, and slightly higher than what banks offer.
Okay, I have two questions now. Before asking, how to explain that to those people who really need the information in order not to be scared to lose their own the own source of income, that is the revenues that come, the interest rate that come on the money deposited, their own deposits. And the second is like what happened in the Suez Canal. Well, when everybody went and rushed and financed the project, so it was financed by Egyptian money for Egyptians. So we did not resort to any kind of any entities abroad in order to get the money. So it was financed here. So what about the projects that are taking place, the government projects that they can ask to finance from, and they give, of course, the interest instead of paying here or there to the people who can just share in funding their own projects, the country's projects?
It was a very beautiful experience at the time of raising funds for the Suez Canal extension to buy specific certificates to finance this national project, but at the moment there isn't any of them. So the investment decision actually is unique.
Yeah.
Okay, my needs is different than your needs.
Definitely.
Okay, so the available investment options in the market needs to be analyzed by the depositors, by anyone who wants to get a safe investment and decent yield. It depends on the circumstances of each one.
Definitely. Well, we go for a short break. After, we should be coming back. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're back again to Money Means Business, and with our guest, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh. Well, we talked about the interest rate, and it's going to go down eventually. So with the people, some people don't read, some people don't know about it. They just only depend on they go and get the interest rate that is added to their own account. This is the only source of revenue to the amount they have, and they can pay everything from that because they are depending on this. But they did not really think in advance that that can decrease with the economic situation thriving and all that. There are alternatives, as you said, like they can resort to in order to, have a good interest rate still. But how to do that, how to, if they're not reading, or just who they should resort to in order, when this happens, to know, to direct them or give them the options or alternatives that they can put their money on to give them a good revenue.
Well, there are more than one responsible entity that could deal with this particular issue. For example, I see that the Egyptian EFSA, the Egyptian Financial Supervisory Authority, which supervises the non-banking financial institutions, it has a role in explaining what are the non-banking alternatives, investment alternatives in either the stock exchange or in the mutual funds. And I see that in the past they have sponsored several campaigns to explain to the public, the general public, what are the suitable investments opportunities apart from or other than the normal banking traditional investment options. Similarly, I see that the media has a big role in this area. And luckily, I've seen in the last month, at least, I've seen many articles and interviews with economic and banking experts explaining what are the options. And as rightfully said, maybe some people may not be comfortable with reading or understanding what
they don't
does
understand the
this
economy. They say
mean.
that there is this, like interest rate that is good, and they don't know other places to go to. So they put their money in the bank because it's safe, especially national banks, and the interest rate is high, and they should get good revenue from it.
I say that TV programs, I mean, it's more accessible and more easy to understand, to explain to the general public in very simple terms what are the alternatives. And the road shows in public places, in universities, in clubs, in social clubs, also they can be used as a venue for explaining and meeting the public and explaining what are these alternatives. Federation of Egyptian Banks also, they have a role because some banks, they have their own mutual funds, sponsored mutual funds. Of course, they can promote the investment option in mutual funds. So all these venues are accessible, and we encourage experts and the media, of course, to ask, to make a dialogue with the experts in explaining the benefits and other the alternatives for the average citizen.
Definitely. Well, time is up, unfortunately. Good time is by very fast. So thank you very much,
Pleasure.
for being with us, and it's always a pleasure having you. And as we go along with the different developments, we'll have to discuss them definitely. Thank you for being there.
Pleasure.